I was trying to explain that, what is the source code algorithm to then lead to artificial intelligence language models like ChatGPT or uh, Microsoft Copilot or DeepSeek, but would provide a larger framework to develop mobile applications, web applications, and complex programming. How that understanding would really start, what kind of non-linearities would really be understood. Uh, so, mathematics would really start mapping variation through two-dimensional graphs, horizontal axis and the vertical axis. That's 90-degree frame where two variables can easily be identified, two main variables, one independent, one dependent. If you really start building up equations, mathematical equations, that's the simplest equation, linear equation. And then we really represent non-linearities in the larger frameworks and identify the controls, the exogenous controls which are not considered in a linear program. And then you complicate your programming framework, bringing more variables, which should be simultaneous equation models, complex simultaneous equation models. And then the basic framework of a mathematical algorithm is understood. So, but since I'm talking about the digital world, web application, it's all about not only understanding mathematical output, but then understanding non-linearity and pattern identifications through programming, which would be then identified through mobile screens or through your personal computers, the screens of your personal computers, and would then be represented by the presence of videos, something like YouTube, or then social media websites like X or even TikTok. Which is everybody would use it, so everybody is familiar with it. So that's how this idea would start from a simple source code and a larger understanding. So it would yet again explaining that 90-degree you can have x-axis dash and y-axis dash, and you will build a 360 framework where in the most simplest sense in x-axis and y-axis the two variables would be moving in a positive direction, and x-axis dash and y-axis dash would be moving in another direction. And so there is some kind of a variability to then plot non-linearities, but then still it would remain constrained with two-dimensional understanding. Now, what exactly would then create one of the most complex non-linear framework would then be understood from traditional classic wall clocks. There is a need for hour, one for minutes, and one for seconds. And for example, local Pakistan time, they would be doing all the rotations, 24-hour rotation, or at least 12-hour rotation that you would know, from starting from 12 and coming back to 12. And then how would you start understanding three-dimensional non-linearities? Is that, imagine there is something which is within a day, within 24 hours you will have 12 hour, 12 minutes, 12 seconds, but still the needles would be at the different places. 12 hour would be at 12, but 12 minutes would be somewhere down near 15 minutes, and 12 seconds would yet again be corresponding to the minutes than the hours. So what I'm saying is that trying to find convergence points between the three needles is a highly complex understanding if mapped through cognition or through a mathematical equation. Now assume we have been able to then rotate the needle for hours, seconds, and minutes to the same place, anywhere in the clock. And then suddenly, how would you differentiate It's like that's the best example of three-dimensional connection. So connection is symmetry. Best symmetry is when through a wall clock, traditional wall clock, you will understand. So it's like it's a hour needle, minutes needle, and second needle for the seconds will all be at the same place. That's connecting. One of the best three-dimensional connecting framework, natural, built centuries ago when wall clocks were developed in Switzerland, for example. Now the non